Welcome, everyone. The South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce is pleased to announce the presentation today at the forum, the City Council candidate forum in the City of South Padre Island. And thank you for coming tonight. Especially thank you for those that submitted the questions for us tonight. At this time, I'd like to announce or introduce our moderator, Kathy Cunningham, and then our timekeepers, Gayle Hood and Alta Monroe. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to
All right, good evening. As you all know, my name is Kathy Cunningham, and I will be tonight's forum moderator. Can everybody hear me?
No. Maybe a little bit closer.
So my name is Kathy Cunningham, and I'll be tonight's forum moderator. Everybody can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Gayle Hood and Alta Monroe will serve as our timers. They're over here on my left. On behalf of the South Padre Island Chamber of Commerce, I want to welcome everyone to the Chamber's 2021 South Padre Island SPI City Council Candidate Forum. We also wish to thank the South Padre Island Convention Centre and their wonderful staff for use of the facility tonight. The forum tonight is being transmitted on Facebook Live and will be available for viewing after the event. Now please stand and join me as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance to our great nation and then the state of Texas. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas Pledge.
Honor the
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and indivisible.
All right, at this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the candidates. And they're actually seated in alphabetical order. And we've got Eva Jean Dalton, incumbent and unopposed candidate for Council Place 5. Rod Hunter, candidate for Council Place 3. And Joe Rico, incumbent and candidate for Council Place 3 as well. Again, thank you all for joining us, and let's begin. Let me go over the rules actually before we begin. There are rules, and I have my handy dandy double trouble over here who will be enforcing the time, so please be considerate of everyone here. Candidates, each of you will be given 2 minutes to make an opening statement. If you've drawn for the order of opening statements, then I will indicate when it is your turn to speak. Alta Monroe will show you a 15 seconds remaining sign. And Gayle Hood will use a bell to signal the end of your allowed time. Please stop speaking when you hear the bell. After the opening statements, I will ask a series of questions which have previously been given to me and provided. You will have 2 minutes to answer each. We will rotate the order in which you answer the questions so that each candidate has an opportunity to answer a question first and last, and obviously in the middle. I will call on you by name when it is your turn to speak. Opening statements, if you guys have already drawn, will begin with Joe Rico, Eva Jean Dalton, and then Rod Hunter. Thank you again, and Joe, you may begin.
Before I get started, I was thinking about this all day. We had a rough month on the island. We lost some really great people and some dear friends. Gretchen Menotti, Judith Beat, and Kimmy Summers. They all not with us anymore, and just seeing their families around to spread their condolences from us. Anyways, I'm Joe Rico. I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I moved down here in 1994 to come down here and work spring break. I did that for 5 years. In 1998, I was able to move here full time. At that time, I became the AGM at a place called Louie's Backyard. 2 years later, I became general manager. In 1998, I also had it was a good year for me. I met my beautiful wife, who's here in the front row. 2001, we bought our house. 2002, we got married. 2 years later, we had our first child, my son Joey, who's in He's a senior over at Port Isabel. He is involved in everything. He's the class president of all the everything. I can't keep track. He's applied to UT, Texas A&M, Columbia, TCU, SMU. They did a college tour this summer. They had a great time. My daughter Samantha's a sophomore. She's also in everything, and I love them both, and I'm proud of both of them. The last 3 years, I've been very proud to serve y'all. Over the past 20 years, some of the things I participated in, I was the vice chair of the Special Events Committee, I was the vice chair of the CVB board. I was a member of leadership, class 4, the best class, so if you're 5 or 3, 4 was the best. I was the chairman of the Taste of the Island for the Chamber of Commerce for 3 or 4 years. In 2004, I was voted the Chamber Business Volunteer of the Year. I was a Texas Scholar Presenter. That was a lot of fun. I did that with Scott Friedman and Donna Adi. Great program. I was also the vice chair of Leadership Laguna Madre Alumni Committee. Did that with my other friend Reese Langston. I was the vice president of the SPI Business Owners Association. My friend Kerry Schwartz talked me into that one. And it was an interesting time. Rod said he'd deal with Indianapolis. The question you want to know about right now is what have we done for you lately?
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Oh.
Yep, it's gonna apply to everybody, unfortunately.
All right,
All right, Eva Jean, you've got 2 minutes.
Is this on? Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eva Jean Dalton, and I'm happy to be here today. For those of you that don't know me, this is going to be my 2nd term on council, and it's been a great experience for me, and I'd like to thank everybody that voted for me and helped me get here. I'm a 7th generation Texan, a 5th generation Valleyite. I grew up in Mercedes, and I've been coming to the island ever since I was in diapers, to be honest. And one of my grandfathers, Andy Porter, owned one of the only eating places here on the island, Andy's Sandbox. And many of you old timers probably remember him and knew him. My other grandfather was a farmer in Progresso. I've been a real estate broker and active in real estate for about 32 years, but my best job is being a mom and a grandma. I've been involved in my realtor association at all levels, nationally, state, and local, and I've been very involved in governmental affairs and advocacy. And I do know most all of our elected officials here in Hidalgo and Cameron County. The past 3 years have really gone by fast. It's amazing. And many things have been accomplished. Laguna Boulevard project is getting ready to be started. We received federal Restore Act money for a new public boat ramp that is soon coming, and that's just a couple of things. I believe we need to continue to address infrastructure, mainly drainage on the island, and we need to continue to work together to find a balance between full-time residents and tourists, as tourism is our #1 industry. I do my best to see both sides of issues. I do remember that I'm a city council person that's representing my constituents, and I do believe that it's important to make sure the city is fiscally sound. I believe that no one should leave City Hall feeling defeated, and I believe no one should leave City Hall feeling like something is not achieved. I'm honored to serve again. Thank you.
All right, Rod Hunter, I apologize.
There, is that on?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. As you can tell, I'm very new to all this. I'm still wrapping my head around all of this and the public speaking and all. Anyway, I'm native of Brownsville, born and raised. I went to grade schools in Brownsville. Went on to Harlingen for high school at the Marine Military Academy, where I graduated 3rd in my leadership class in the military side of the school. After a brief college try, I enlisted in the U.S. Navy, 1985. I did 8.5 years in the U.S. Navy with an honorable discharge as an E5 rank. I had some leadership there. After the Navy, I first went to Plano, Texas, because I had gotten training while in the Navy as an EMT. I went to Plano, Texas and started working for Care Flight Air and Ground Ambulance. Went back to Connecticut after a few years and continued my EMT training and became a firefighter in Connecticut. Continued that for about 10 years, and then I found out that the Austin the city of Austin was hiring many dispatchers, so I wanted to come back home to Texas, of course. So I went to Austin as a public safety dispatcher. I was there for about 2 years. I was promoted to a lead dispatcher. After about 5 years in Austin, I heard of an opening in South Padre Island. Of course, this is home for me. I've been coming since I was in diapers as well. So of course, I jumped on the opportunity to come back home and work for the South Padre Island Police Department. I did that for about 2.5 years. So I've been in City Hall and I know a lot of the people here. And I've served in every community I've lived in across the country as either public safety or in other capacities, and I want to continue to do that here. Thank you.
All right, everyone, we're gonna move on to the questions. Again, if you need me to repeat a question, I'm more than happy to, just let me know. We will finish by 7 p.m. Again, remember to watch for the 15-second timer, and when the bell dings, we will move on to the next individual, okay? All right, for the first question. Eva Jean, you'll be up, then Rod, then Joe. Eva Jean, what motivated you to run for this position, and what are your qualifications for the position?
Well, what motivated me to run 3 years ago was because I love the island, and there was some things that I felt I wanted to work on, and being on city council. And now the last 3 years that I've served, I hope that I've proven myself to the community, that I feel like I have a lot of common sense. I do try to see both sides of an issue. I try to be fair to everyone, and I love the island, and I want to see the island prosper. And it is a unique situation because we have full-time citizens, so there's many things that you have to consider there, but then we do have our tourists, and with tourism being our #1 industry, we have to find a way to bring everybody together and be on the same page. And so that's what motivates me. I love the island, and I want to see the island prosper, and I feel like I'm a good person to be here in this position.
Excellent, thank you. Rod, what motivated you to run for this position, and what are your qualifications for the position?
Well, like I said before, I'd like to serve my community as well. I think this is still home for me. My motivation was several things. I know that's the way the system works, that you can go unopposed multiple terms, but it just didn't seem democratic to me. I thought we need to have some challenge, to go, to have a challenger anyway. I see a divide or an imbalance in the city council right now, and it's kind of a us against them type situation, and I wasn't happy with that. So I thought we need to fix that. We need to get somebody in there that has a new voice, and maybe new ideas, new thoughts, and that was. And plus, the number of phone calls and stuff that I got that said I would be good in this job and that I needed to run. That's what motivated me the most. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Joe, what motivated you to run for this position, and what are your qualifications for the position?
What motivated me to run? I got a phone call one day from a friend of mine, and he said, I'm thinking about running for council. And I was like, well, you got my support, how can I help you? He goes, well, I want you to run also. And at the time, I was taken back. About 13 years earlier, I had two council people approach me and asked me if I was interested in running for office, not running, but they wanted to appoint me because there was a person moving on to a different position. There was going to be a vacancy, and the first person called me, real nice lady councilman who was a friend of mine. I was taken back, and I was like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for this. And then another guy named Rick Rodolphe came to see me. It was like one of the principal's office. I was like, I thought I was in trouble. And he's like, hey, we're thinking about a couple names we're tossing around, and you're on the list. What do you think about that? I think I talked to my boss at the time, I talked to my wife, and at the time I wasn't ready, and I'm glad I wasn't ready then. And it requires a lot, and I had a lot going on in my family at the time, and my children. Anyways, the direction where we were going 3 years ago. I was disappointed with some things with the city. What makes me qualified? I get stuff done. We don't just talk it, we get it done. The first 10 months I was on council, I brought the 30 resolutions to the board. I believe in moving forward. And, you just can't see it. You can't sit around. You have to put the time in, you gotta put the work in. I enjoy that. I'm a businessman, and I don't wanna waste anyone's time. So council for me isn't just a position or a title. It's a job, and that's why you elect us. That's why we get appointed. And you know, I'm working for you. It's $1, but it doesn't matter. I swore an oath. That's important, and I have to execute that to the best of my ability. Thanks.
All right, we will move on to question 2. And Rod, you'll be first, then Joe, then Eva Jean, right? Rod, given the controversy around the safety, noise, and congestion caused by golf carts and electric scooters, can you please provide your position on regulation, if any, of these items and your position on the value they bring to the island?
I knew that question would come up. As far as the golf carts go, I think the council has done really good. The biggest things we had was the noise. First, the radios. They did a good job in reducing that noise. Then it was the honking, and we've done a good job with that. I'm not sure if there's any more we can do besides maybe, I know that the thought of doing a curfew type thing was thrown out there. I don't know what happened with that. I don't know if we can limit the number of golf carts or the number of permits that we issue for golf carts per capita maybe, or per space. I think we've got too many of them now, just for our roads are overcrowded with them on the weekends. I sit in my office with a police radio on my desk because I've been doing that for 22 years, and I like to hear what's going on in this city. And way too many times that I'm sitting working, listening to ambulance calls and police calls for golf carts rolling over, golf carts going off the street, golf carts running into cars, or vice versa. And we've had some serious accidents. I don't think we've had anybody killed in a golf cart accident, but it's only a matter of time. I think we need to come up with a solution. I mean, somebody else told me golf carts aren't going to go away unless visitors don't want to rent golf carts, and I don't see that happening. They're very popular. They do bring up taxes to the city, you know, of course. So I'm not sure what the answer is, but I think we've already did some good strides in reducing the problems that we had initially.
Thank you, Rod. Joe, do you need me to repeat the question?
Please.
All right. Given the controversy around the safety, noise, and congestion caused by golf cart and electric scooters, can you please provide your position on regulation, if any, of these items and your position on the value they bring to the island?
Oh, okay, let me separate the two to start with. Electric scooters. Back in February, March of 19, I brought a resolution to the council to ban them. It was a temporary resolution, and over the next 5.5 months, I worked with the environmental health director, I worked with the city attorney, I met with people from San Antonio who were going through a pilot program and having a nightmare experience up there. And I crafted one of the first e-scooter bans in the state. That went into effect, I believe, in September of 19. So my position on e-scooters they're great, they're just not for our topography. It doesn't work here on the island. We have 3 streets, we have lots of compression. They don't fit what we're doing here. Cities like San Antonio, where they have green space, they're widening the roads for scooters, different story. On the island, they don't work. Golf carts. This is a tough one. August 15, 2013, this was a council meeting. You know, we talk about unintended consequences when we vote. This is why it's important to research all this stuff. They made a vote where they allowed overnight rentals. This seems to me to be the pivotal point when we started having problems with the carts, because now we're allowing overnight rentals, and that's where you hear the complaints. We never heard about them during the daytime. It never seemed to be a factor. That's where, you know, it's important for the council. You have to slow down and go through all these votes. My position on the golf carts, the first thing I did, this was very difficult. I've got friends in the industry that were involved with it. We put in a ban to take out all the sound emitting devices. That was tough. Like I said, once again, we're a small community and we have friends that do this. But it was the right thing to do at the time. That same meeting, I also asked to form a subcommittee, and unfortunately, I was not able to chair it. The golf carts, there's a simple solution out there that can work for everybody, work for the businesses, work for the residents. We can make it a little more user-friendly, and I think everyone can be happy. We started working on that last summer in July with Chief Lonnie. We're gonna get back to that after I get done with this campaign, so I can get back to work. I've got the solution. You can ask me afterwards.
I'm an expert, thank you. Sorry if I have to cut you guys off, I just need to have the same qualification for everybody at the same time. Eva Jean?
Rob's gonna yield some time later.
Eva Jean, given the controversy around the safety, noise, and congestion caused by golf cart and electric scooters, can you please provide your position on the regulation, if any, of these items and your position on the value they bring to the island?
Well, as Joe said, you know, the electric scooter thing for me is kind of a non-issue because they're not here. But the golf carts, again, it comes to that issue that I just talked about in my opening statement, that tourism is our #1 industry. And the tourists like the golf carts and those kind of things that they have here to rent. And so it is one of those issues that is difficult because many of the full-time residents don't like them, but the tourists like them. So it's again, one of those things that we have to bridge a gap between. And I do believe some of the things that we've done, and I did serve, Alita and I both did serve in 2019 on the golf cart committee. And we had several people on the committee. We had the police, we had some citizens from the island, we had some golf cart business owners, and we discussed many things, and I brought it to council, and there was some great solutions with extra permitting to raise more fees, to maybe have more police that could regulate. A lot of great ideas, and nothing got implemented. So now we are here where the noise was taken off, everybody talks about the horns, so legally we can't take the horns off. So we just have to remember that we live in a tourist industry, and I don't know how we can ban them. I don't know how you tell business owners you can no longer have a business and take them away. And I have done some studies with the city, and the best we can kind of guess, and this was even a figure from 2 years ago, is that the revenue that's coming into the city from the golf carts with the sales tax and the permitting and fees is probably about $300,000, and that was 2 years ago, so it's probably even more than that now. I bet it's close to 400,000 plus, so something to think about.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move on to question 3. And in this order, Joe, you'll be first, Eva Jean, and then Rod. You each own a business on the island. As a business owner, you have a personal financial interest in the city's processes and decisions. Can you describe how you balance, or how you would balance, your personal business interests with your obligations as a city council member?
Sorry, one more time, please.
Sure. You each own a business on the island. As a business owner, you have a personal financial interest in the city's processes and decisions. Can you describe how you balance, or how you would balance, your personal and business interest with your obligations as a city council member?
That's simple. You just recuse. If there's a conflict, you just recuse. I've done that a dozen times plus. That's why we have a large group. So if I step out, we let them figure it out. Because you don't put yourself in a situation you're going to do something where you're not going to be proud of. So you recuse yourself and abstain from the vote and end the conversation. I've actually walked out. If there's an item that's even close to where I'm working or owning or any of that, I've walked out of the meeting before and come back after it. So that's how you honor your position, and that's why you let the folks next to you figure it out, and you come back in.
All right, thank you. And Eva Jean?
Could you read it again?
Absolutely. You each own a business on the island. As a business owner, you have a personal financial interest in the city processes and decisions. Can you describe how you balance, or how you would balance, your personal business with your obligations? Can you describe how you balance or how you would balance your personal business interests with your obligations as a city council member?
Well, I'm very lucky because being a real estate broker and working for myself, I make my own time. And even though I am busy, I do make my own time. And so I'm very good with time management, and I plug all of my stuff into my calendar about meetings and where I need to be and all of that. So that's pretty easy for me. And I don't believe I've had any conflicts. I think in the whole time I've been on city council, there was one thing recently that I had to abstain from voting on. But other than that, I don't feel like I have any conflicts. There's no real estate deals that I've been involved in the city. So I don't think it's been a problem for me. And I do believe I have the time to commit to being a good city council person, because it does take time. It's not just showing up at the city council meetings, it's being at the committee meetings. And even if you can't be at the committee meetings, watching them online or watching them late at night, you know, to know what you're gonna be making decisions on when you get to city council.
All right, thank you. And Rod, repeat the question?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
One of the hardest decisions I've made in a long time was to run for council and run against Joe. And one of the things I asked myself and my wife at the time was, wow, do I really have time to do this? And I thought about it for a long time, and I thought, you know, Joe, I see Joe running around crazy between 2 places and 3 places, and I said, hey, if Joe can do it, I can do it. Because he's a lot busier, it seems like, than I am. Anyway, no, I agree with both of them. I mean, I don't, as a real estate business owner and a short-term property management owner, there is a lot there that will tie into other things that might come up to the committee. And again, same thing, I'd have to recuse myself if there's conflicts. I wouldn't think anything to do with our business would be a conflict, but you never know. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move on to question number 4. And Eva Jean, you'll be first, then Rod, then Joe. All right. Eva Jean, what do you think are the top 3 challenges that currently face the island?
Top 3 challenges. Drainage, I believe drainage, and when the Laguna Boulevard project starts, there are gonna be some solutions, I think, to drainage, but we're still gonna need to look at other things about drainage. It just rained, we all saw that, so I believe that's an ongoing thing. Secondly, all of our infrastructure. I know that lately, lots of people have been having problems with our Spectrum internet. So I'm on a mission. I've told some people, Spectrum, if they're listening, they're like secret agents. You can't find who's in charge. You can call customer service, but I'm on a mission and I'm gonna find out. And I have talked to the head person of AT&T that is over our region. I just had conversations with him yesterday. They're going to check the nodes that have been put out on the median for the 5G. I'm gonna try to pit both of them against each other. Maybe one of them can come up with a solid solution for us to have good, solid internet service, because I think AT&T has had problems with internet service too. So, and then thirdly, again, I think finding that balance between the full-time residents and the tourists. It is a challenge sometimes.
Thank you. Rod?
Say it again.
You got it. What do you think are the top 3 challenges that currently face the island?
Okay, top 3. I know personally, I know some people that would like to move to the island. My mother included. She's 83 years old, lives in San Antonio. And one of the things that stop people, especially the older crowd, is not having any medical facilities. I think I talked to Dr. Ibarra a few days ago, and I had a good talk with him, and I know that's coming, but it's still a challenge for us, that we need to have some kind of medical facility, at least an emergency room or something. We've had two clinics, but they're not always open. Number 2 is the drainage, as we all saw the other day. I don't know what the answer is there. I mean, we're on a barrier island. We're almost at sea level. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know with the Laguna Boulevard project. There's some check valves and some water retention ponds and stuff that are planned for that should help. I'm not sure where the water is gonna go, especially in a hurricane, or if it's high tide or full moon. The third thing was, I think, as Eva Jean says, the balance between residents and people that live here and the tourists. We are a tourist town, that's where we get our money from. But we need to somehow do a better balance. I think we've gone as far as we can so far, but there's other things to fix, electrical infrastructure, the electrical grids, the internet, a lot of things. Thanks.
All right, thank you. And Joe?
In this sort of sand, second causeway, controlled growth. Why sand? We are a barrier island. Sand is, that's why people come here. We're a beach community. We have no beach, they're not coming here. So we need to keep working core and getting more sand out here. I know we were talking to some folks from the Port of Brownsville. We're building a giant hopper dredge out there. We kind of hinted if they want to do a test run when they're done. We still have I think we have the only permit right now in Cameron County for beach dredging to become, so we offer that. Second causeway, why is this important? This is important for 100 reasons. Start with the first one, public safety. If we have any kind of disaster, there's only one way on, one way off. Ambulances, when the traffic's backed up, one way on, one way off. I see a lot of business people out here right now. During the summertime when we have that big snake on Saturday and Sunday, and the traffic's backed up to the high school, your employees can't get here. We all suffered this summer trying to get employees and staff. It wasn't just that people didn't want to work. It's hard for people now to get here from Brownsville and sit in traffic for 2 hours. So the second causeway can alleviate some of that. We've had a lot of meetings with the judge. We've been doing that for about 18 months now. We meet once a month or so, again, Pizza Buddha. And we recently got the judge agreed to put $1 million in for Cameron County, $1 million from the MPO that he's going to be chairing here in a couple weeks, and then the city, the EDC, the CBB, and the city on the excess reserve threw $1 million in. That money's going to complete the mitigation and environmental impact study. That's the first step before we do anything with the second causeway. So that's in the works right now. That's been stalled for about 7 years, but we're going to get that done. We're moving that forward. Controlled growth. You know, we've got a developer looking at putting in 300 or 400 home sites on the north end. We want growth, we want those houses, we want those full-time residents. We have to do it in a controlled fashion. We have to make sure we're not annexing land that the city will be responsible for later, that might require continual dredging material.
All right,
So,
I'm gonna cut you off, Joe, sorry.
You did that twice now.
I know, well, I said it 3 times. 3 times. I did it in your opening. All right, again, everybody has 2 minutes. All right, question number 5. Rod, you're first, then Joe, then Eva Jean. All right, what are your thoughts on bringing more families to the island for spring break and improving safety in addition to the traditional college spring break tourism?
Oh, I'm first. Oh, I think we saw in the last year or 2 that the families are starting to come more. I think we lost some of the college kids to not be able to go to Mexico. I think we lost college kids to Colorado because they can smoke more things in Colorado. I think there's a good balance now. I think just those type of events and the hearsay has reduced the college kids coming. I'm not gonna say they're not gonna come. The ones that live further away, I don't think they're coming anymore because of different, same reasons. I think the families we need to market to the families, and I'm not sure how to do that exactly. This new Zimmerman agency had a lot of good ideas, but I think the families are gonna start coming more and more after this year, after a lot of them drove here and see the island. I think the one good thing that happened this year was we got so many more people that used to go to Port A or Galveston that made the trip to South Padre Island, and we've gained many, many more new tourists that will be coming back, and I think a lot of those were families. Spring break's never gonna go away, and I don't believe we should ban it in any way. It's just not gonna be as prominent as it was 12, 15 years ago when it was crazy. Thank you.
All right, Joe?
One more time, please.
You got it. What are your thoughts on bringing more families to the island for spring break and improving safety in addition to the traditional college spring break tourism?
Improving safety is easy. We've got a rock star police chief, Claudine. She's doing a great job. As far as families and spring break, okay. Millennials, collegiate kids in college, we can't cut out any market. If we go, our CPB has the intestinal fortitude to go out early and market to the college kids, get them to book up the rooms. As the inventory goes down, the ADR goes up. So it qualifies the crowd a lot more on who's coming for spring break. I was glad to see families here this last year. I've got 2 restaurants. We had a great time with them. I think spring break now is turning in, it's similar to a busy July weekend. That's what it is. It's down, for all intents and purposes, it's down to about 6 days. It's not like in 98, 94, when Gabby started, it was 6 weeks long, and it's about a week now. So keep advertising to everyone. If we're gonna market to spring breakers, we go to the collegiate market. Those are the kids that we want here. And they come with mom and dad's credit card, and they're well behaved, and they help us fill up our inventory. So, family spring break, bring it. The more the merrier. I've got 2 kids in high school. I'm not into the craziness and all that stuff. That's just not who we are, and that's not who our brand is. So that's where I'm at.
All right, thank you. And that was timely.
Thanks for the softball.
Eugene,
That's it.
what are your thoughts on promoting bringing more families to the island for spring break and improving safety in addition to the traditional college spring break tourism?
Well, I totally agree with Joe. We've got the safety factor covered, I believe, because we do have a great police chief and we have a great city manager that used to be a police chief. So I think that part is really covered. I feel really good about that. And as I look back on things, I mean, just think about when spring break started. The island back in the day was pretty much the only spring break place that kids came. And that's why I think we got the name Spring Break Capital of the United States. But as years have gone by, I think spring break has just naturally changed. I'm not sure that it's anything that we've done or not done, but kids have other places to go. I mean, they were going to Europe, they were going to Mexico, they're doing summer studies, they're spending more time with their family. So spring break to me, like it's a little blimp in time. I mean, maybe 6 weeks, 2 weeks at the most. And I think a lot of the marketing that we've done has been seen by families, and over the last few years, I've consistently seen more families, not just at spring break, but holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. It's good to have the families, but I'm in total agreement. We can't just market to one particular category. We have got to market to other people, and the collegiate spring break is also, I'm in total agreement about that. And I think we're doing the right things. And as much as, the pandemic or, that happened, it brought a lot of people to the island that may not have ever come here. And I see that if people can drive here easily, they're coming, because a lot of people don't want to fly. They don't want to travel to Europe. They don't want to travel to Mexico. So I think we're doing the right things. We just need to keep doing it.
All right, thank you. We're moving along. We will go on to question number 6. And Joe, you will be first. Eva Jean, you'll be second. And Rod, you'll be third. Okay? All right, how will you use your position on City Council to improve communication between the members of City Council and the public?
How will I use my position to, one more time, please?
Sure. How will you use your position on City Council to improve communication between the members of City Council and the public?
I'm not a big Facebook person, so I steer clear of that. I think it's I don't like a mixed message going out from the city when we have votes or different resolutions come up. Nikki Soto was our public information officer before she took the city secretary job. I believe right now we're looking for someone to backfill that position. For all intents and purposes, the mayor is our figurehead. He's also supposed to be the person in the forefront and explain what's going on in the city. I've, recused to him, and most of the council has also, except, once again, he's the leader of the city, and he's supposed to be in front of him, telling our story, what's going on, so there's no mixed messages, especially when we have, little things like, power poles going down, water mains blowing up. If it's not the public information officer, that's the job of the mayor. I've had the same phone number now since 1998. I've had the same email address since 1998. It's on the city website, so I've always been open. If anyone calls or asks or pops in, I'm always willing to talk about stuff. But for public information, I think that needs to go through the right channels, so there's no misinformation. That seems like that's where we get into trouble and people get concerned. Even when we had the power and the water outage last February, it was a scary time, and it was a very fluid situation. We were sitting on the phone, I'm with this state, we're talking to this state, Patrick's talking to, Randy's talking to that person. You really have to channel it through one person so we get the right information out.
Excellent.
Do I get that time back?
No. All right, Eva Jean?
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. How would you use your position on city council to improve communication between the members of the city council and the public?
Well, I think we need to be inclusive, we need to be accessible, we need to be responsible, we need to be respectful, and we need to listen. We are elected and serving the public. We are voted in by our constituents, and we should listen to what our constituents want, and we should be respectful to our constituents and listen to them. Again, as I made in my opening comments, no one should leave City Hall feeling defeated, and no one should leave City Hall feeling like something is not achievable.
All right, excellent. Rod?
I guess I'm interpreting the question a little bit different, but I think the city does a pretty good job for being able to reach out to the council members with a dedicated email, a city email that I think all the council members get. I think it's been working pretty well. I've sent several emails to several council members over the years, or even mayors, and I've always got a response. As far as the public information, I agree that it has to be controlled. It has to come from one voice. If there's a problem or a crisis or something, that has to be done responsibly. But I think as far as just open communication, I think we've always had that. I've never had a problem with open communication with anybody on the city council. So.
All right, excellent. We will move on to question number 7. And all right, we're still good on time. Eva Jean, you're gonna be first. Rod, you're next. And Joe, you will bring up the last. What are your thoughts on supporting a new deep water marina and continued research into bringing in cruise ships?
Cruise ships, I can't believe we're talking about that. There was a cruise ship study now done maybe about 20 years ago, and then there was one before I got on council. So I don't see that happening or visiting that again. And the Deepwater Marina, I'm fully supportive of. I think it's a great idea, and I think we already had approved money through the EDC for a feasibility study. I think I'm remembering that, so I think it's a great idea. I know that the people with the TIP tournament, the International Fishing Tournament, are very supportive of it. They came and spoke to us. I mean, it would make a tremendous boost in their fishing tournament. I think it's a great idea, and I hope that we can achieve it. And I know there's people working on it, and whatever I can do to help, I'm happy to.
All right, thank you. And Rod?
Repeat the question?
Absolutely. What are your thoughts on supporting a new deepwater marina and continued research into bringing in cruise ships?
Well, the Deepwater Marina, I think, is a great idea, because I think we could tie that in with SpaceX, because they've got to figure out how to get people back and forth across the channel to get to SpaceX. I have several friends on the island this summer that work at SpaceX, and they said they're going to move to Brownsville because of the traffic problem, and that's a long way but I think the Deepwater Marina is something that we've needed for a long time, but I think we can tie that in with SpaceX, and maybe they can even help fund that if it's something that we could result in a ferry or a way to get their employees back and forth. The other part of the question, I'm sorry.
What are your
is
thoughts on?
cruise ships.
Yep.
I think for cruise ships to be able to come in here would be a huge infrastructure cost, and I think we should concentrate on our own infrastructure problems before we spend millions of dollars trying to get a cruise ship in here.
All right, thank you. And Joe?
Deepwater Marina, I love it. It's a great idea. It's something that it fits our brand. We've spent, I don't know, $500,000 now supporting the RGV reef. You know, we've got an incredible reef 6 miles offshore here. You know, ecotourism, it's a huge segment of the market. So any ancillary businesses that tie into that, this is a no-brainer. I would have no problem putting an extra 50 or 100,000 out of reserves into forwarding that study. I know Ms. Hood has been working on that. I know Councilman Betters is very passionate about that and going for free boat rides, but it's, any ancillary businesses for the artificial reef, that's paramount. And you start bringing down those boats, you know, the first thing they do is they start looking at real estate. And then we're looking for more, you know, more residents on the island. So I'm all about deep water marinas. I'd like to see Murphy have another fleet of boats down there, and I think it's a great idea, and the city has to be supportive of it, because that's part of our future. You know, we're a barrier island, so bring it. And I love to fish, so this is a no-brainer. Cruise ships, the city invested about $200,000 in it. The study came back. I felt it was inconclusive. The judge basically said, we have no money for this. So I'm not really sure why we funded the first $200,000, but the judge, we don't have any money for this. So I think that the cruise ships are dead. That's where that's at. I'm glad we didn't spend $250,000. I'm glad it stopped at $200,000. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No excellence?
No, that was the last question. Everybody got an excellent. All right, question number 8. Again, the order will be Rod, then Joe, then Eva Jean, okay? All right, given the current employee shortage, should the city investigate workforce housing to attract more workforce to live on the island?
Absolutely. I'm not sure where in this real estate market that would come from or who could fund that, especially just land. The real estate market is out of whack right now, but yeah, everybody's got an employee shortage. It's not, I don't think it's more because people can't get to the island or live on the island to work here. Right now, it's a matter of people that don't want to work, or they've chosen not to work because of the federal money and everything like that. But yes, that's always been a problem. The EDC and the chamber has always done a great job of luring, inviting and getting more business to come here. And I think one of the problems that we have when we ask businesses to come in, we don't tell them or we don't explain to them that your biggest challenge is going to be the workforce. It's just not here. I've seen restaurants and different businesses come and go on this island for that reason. Just, and it's seasonal. Maybe in the summer they get the college kids, the high school kids that can work, but then when school goes back, I've seen multiple businesses die out because they couldn't find people. But if we could have a better place for them to stay, I mean, there's really no apartments on the island. I don't know where you're gonna put the apartments, but that's always could be a solution.
All right, thank you. Joe? Given the current employee shortage, should the city investigate workforce housing to attract more workforce to live on the island?
I believe that's up to the private sector. I know we have one group right now, they're exploring a project like that close to City Hall, actually. But that's up to the private sector. The businesses, it was a tough summer. One of my friends is in property management. I know he had a horrible time when we were comparing stories about what we're doing to get employees here. It just comes back to transportation. I think that's the solution. We're not going to get into the public housing business as a city. I don't see that. Or we can look at different modes of transportation and how to get people here, if it's a water taxi or just getting that second causeway rolling. But that's where that has to go. The private sector, if someone wants to do public housing, affordable public housing, God bless them. I don't see the town doing it.
Okay. Thank you. And Eva G?
Well, I don't think the city should be involved in real estate and public housing, but I think we could be supportive and maybe attract some investors. And, you know, the thing is, we all know that land is very expensive on the island, so it is expensive for somebody to look to do, you know, a big apartment complex, you know, like they have in Brownsville, McAllen, Edinburgh. It's very costly, but possibly maybe there's some things that we could work with them on, you know, as far as tax rebates or something like that. I know there's an apartment complex that's going in Port Isabel. I don't know when they're gonna be finished. Long-term rentals on the island are just impossible to find, and when you can find them, they're very expensive. So the people that are working in the service industry really can't afford the rentals if you can find them, because mostly everything is short-term rental. You know, I think there's probably possibilities of housing that could be done in Port Isabel, Laguna Vista, even Los Fresnos. But again, as Joe mentioned, it's getting them here. So then they're stuck on the bridge, but maybe there's some other ideas to be able to help them commute with buses or, like you said, water taxis. But the city doesn't need to be in the housing market, but we could help encourage.
All right, thank you. Question number 9. Joe, you'll be first, then Eva Jean, then Rod. Considering our harsh local climate and the general age of many of the buildings on the island, what role do you think the city should play in preventing disasters like the Surfside, Florida building collapse, and how would you implement it?
Large structures, that's up to the individual HOA, and their insurance carriers. That's who takes care of that. Our, you know, building department, they do a great job, and as long as we're building the code, I think they're okay. That's like, you know, we had the OT SPI disaster years ago. Fortunately, that was caught before anyone moved in. So the garages were sinking and the tower was staying in the same height. The city's role is to enforce our codes and ordinances and building standards when the properties are built. And if something has to go through repair, the inspectors go out, look at it, and make sure that the repairs are being done correctly and to code. That's the city's role.
All right, thank you. And Eva Jean?
Well, I do too believe it is up to the individual owners or the complex. I mean, I don't see how the city, I mean, that to me would be a violation of private property rights, but each complex should be paying attention to things that are happening in their buildings. So it should fall back on them. And to mention, during our term, we did establish a substandard structure ordinance, which has helped identify several buildings on the island that were substandard, and they're being brought up to standard. So I think that's one way. You know, if any of us see a building that looks like it's not in good shape or there might be problems, we can send the city staff out to investigate. Or if a constituent calls and says, hey, you know, this is a problem, things are flying off this building or things are happening, we have an avenue with that substandard structure ordinance that I believe is a good thing that we implemented.
All right, thank you. Rod? Sure. Considering our harsh local climate and the general age of many of the buildings on the island, what role do you think the city should play in preventing disasters like the Surfside, Florida building collapse, and how would you implement it?
I think we need to go to Florida or find out the lessons learned in that disaster and learn from that. I think maybe the city puts out a guideline or something to the individual HOAs of what we find happened in Florida. I'm not up to speed on that. I know that it was a horrible disaster, but I don't think the city is going to be responsible for that, but I think the city can help reach out to different organizations in that area and see why did it happen, how did it happen, and what can we do to prevent that, and maybe disseminate that information around to the individual condo HOAs that are concrete mostly, and go from there. I know, I can speak from experience, the building that we live in it's a huge problem. They talk about it in every meeting, and if you don't do that maintenance and those inspections every year, it will sneak up on you. I think that's part of the problem, that it just sat and didn't get looked at for so long that it eventually fell down.
All right, thank you. Question number 10, Eva Jean, you'll be first, then Rod, then Rico. Sorry, Joe.
I've been called worse.
What projects do you consider to be a priority in South Padre Island for tourism and for infrastructure?
Well, for tourism, we just hired a new marketing company that a lot of us spent some time with. They were doing groups and asking a lot of questions and getting a feel from everybody on the island, different groups of people, citizens, city council, property management, real estate people, all kinds of businesses they got input from. And I think that'll help. It'll be interesting to see how they brought everything and meshed it together to see what most of the people from the island are saying. I haven't seen that yet. So I think the tourism, I mean, we're doing that. We're continually always trying to do something to improve the tourism on the island. Bringing more families, making sure that it's safe, making sure that there are things for people to do, and repeat business. You know, it's easier to keep somebody coming. It's harder to get a new person to come. So I think we're doing a lot of the right things for that. And then infrastructure, yeah, it's hard. But again, there's going to be some things done when the Laguna Boulevard project, and it is getting ready to start. I know everybody wonders, but it really is getting ready to start. I think we're getting ready to put it out to bid, and I think the City Council will be discussing, like, you know, where to start and how to accomplish it so it doesn't disrupt everybody's lives so much. So some of that I think will help, but we do need to continue to come up with ideas about drainage. So it takes money for drainage, so it's an ongoing topic.
All right, thank you. Rod?
Question?
Yes, sir. What projects do you consider to be a priority in South Padre Island for tourism and infrastructure?
Well, I think some of the projects would tie tourism and infrastructure together. Our internet lately has been horrible. I'm not sure what the city can do to help that. I know they worked on a project and had the antennas and stuff installed along Padre Boulevard for the city internet. I'm not sure if that's been implemented or not. I haven't been able to connect to any of it. The infrastructure for our electrical grid, I see the new poles have been going up, and it's a start, but we still have a horrible electrical grid. The tourism, I think I attended one of those workshops with the New Zimmerman Agency that was very, very good. I liked it. They had a lot of ideas, and they were taking the ideas from all the different people there. That's from the people that live here and have businesses here, and I think I think the SpaceX is a huge market that we haven't gone after yet. I know of at least 2 people that have come here, one from Illinois, and purchased a condo, and we said, oh, well, did you purchase this as a rental? No, I want to come see the rockets. So I think there's a huge potential there for tourism to market after those SpaceX people as well.
All right, thank you. Joe?
Just wait with the timer all through. I need a little more time on this one. Say it one more time, please.
What projects do you consider to be a priority South Padre Island for tourism and for infrastructure?
This is a softball question. Thank you. The sky's the limit. I mean, where do you want to start with this one? If we take on the mantra, good enough isn't. If we take that on, the possibilities are endless. First of all, we have to start with the venue tax projects. Those we have to complete. I saw Mayor Stahl walk in, okay, he's in the back there. One of the venue tax projects, I got to work with him. Before he left, we negotiated a lease with the Pennell family for the Quiet Water Sports Project. That's a venue tax project that the citizens voted on. We got the lease signed. We got a design done for it. We're waiting on the core stamp. They can come in any day. As soon as they do, we're gonna have a special meeting. And we're gonna get that project out for bid. So Quiet Water Sports, world-class facility just north of the shores. It's gonna be awesome. Convention Center Annex, their expansion or remodel. That's been going on since 2012. 10 years ago, I was on the other side of this discussion. Now I've been pushing forward. December 17, 2018, my first meeting on the council, I asked for an update on all the venue tax projects. This is one of them. That facility there, we have an opportunity right now to make it a world-class facility. One of the things we asked for the Johnson Group to add to it, or at least explore the options for, was a black box theater. 400 seats, 500 seats. We asked them to come back and tell us what we needed there. They're the Performing Arts Center in Harlingen. It's always packed. It's 278 seats. The HISD Center over there has 960 seats. They use it for orchestras, bands, theater, plays. We're gonna add that component down here. That's a project we're working on right now. That's gonna come to the council here in the next couple months. We're gonna review that study. We're gonna be presenting with the county here, asking them about the remodel and telling them our plans for that. It's a great project. The second causeway, we have to keep working towards that. I keep going back to this one, but that's the future. We get. Good enough isn't.
All right, we're gonna
Good
move
enough
on.
isn't.
We're moving on.
Good enough isn't.
All right, we're on to question 11. You guys are lucky, we might actually get through all the questions this time. Well, you've got an opportunity to speak 2 more times before you're closing, okay? And you have about 12 minutes. So, question number 11, Rod, you're first, then Joe, then Eva Jean. What are your thoughts on the city's current issues with drainage, flood control, and what would you do to improve it?
Coming back to drainage, and we all saw it a couple days ago, last week, when there was, I think, part of the Laguna Madre project is gonna address some of that. I know we spent some money years ago, I don't know how long ago, in that the Amberjack intersection. I think we spent a lot of money on new drainage and new ways to drain, but yet every time it rains, it's still underwater. Again, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not privy to all the projects and stuff going on now. I haven't been really involved in any of those. I'd love to be involved in them, but again, we're on a barrier island, and many places on the island are under sea level, so it's a big challenge, and the engineers and the powers to be have to figure that out, and I'm all for it.
All right, thank you. Joe?
Please.
What are your thoughts on the city's current issues with drainage, flood control, and what would you do to improve it?
The phase 1 study of the storm drain survey, this goes back almost a dozen and a half years. It was very vague. It didn't address the topography. We didn't have the technology out now. We have drones. With the city, this is earlier in the summer, we purchased digital satellite survey equipment. So our engineers can go out there now and look at the land and wade and get the waypoints a lot more exact. Recently, we purchased $250,000 worth of backflow preventers. We're tying that in. We want to get that done while we're doing Laguna. Those are going to go at the end of the bay and things. Is that going to stop the surge? No, but if water comes in, it won't let it go in until the water goes over the sea level. So if we get 3.5 inches of rain, yes, the streets are going to flood. That won't stop that, but 2 inches, it'll keep the surge from coming back in. Alex Sanchez, our Public Works Director, he's been working with the Corps of Engineers. Right now, he's waiting, we're about a week out. He said from getting a 50% match, hopefully finalized, where the Corps is gonna come in and help us do a new study, more accurate. And that's almost done, we're waiting on that. Streets, all this, everything I've read, it talks about detention. And that's how we can help the water drain. So more detention ponds, I think that's something the Corps can come back to us and say, this is where you put them, this is how you do it. the city tried something a couple years ago with the vegetation strips on the boulevard, and that was a retention type system. And the thought behind it was great, because that if it worked, it would have been a great way for the water to dissipate and go into the ground. Unfortunately, the design was flawed, so we had to remove them and put a paved brick system in there. But water retention in the correct spots, Alex on top of his game, working with the Corps, that's how we're gonna fix that. There's never gonna be 100% fix, but I think that's a really good start, and I know Alex has been working on that hard, and it's gonna come up here pretty quick.
Eva Jean?
I don't know what else to say, because Joe took a lot of what I was gonna say, so I mean, I'm in total agreement with him. The study, I had looked at it too, and it wasn't, where, you know, we could really take anything from it and do anything, but, it's a continuing issue that we're looking at, and everything that Joe said, that's exactly what I would have been talking about too, so we just need to continue to look at it and keep it in front of us.
All right, thank you. This will be the last question. I think we have time for it. Yep. And it'll be Joe first, then Eva Jean, then Rod. Can you provide your perspective on the infrastructure of the island and how you feel the city council should be focusing resources for improvement? Sort of repetitive.
Great question. We have $1.1 million and change in excess reserves right now. One of the things the mayor proposed, and I agree with 100%, is the money's not doing any good in the bank. We're looking at right now repaving 3 of the eastbound streets, making them wider, putting in sidewalks, lights. This will add to, we have a required amount of beach parking we need by the GLO. So we're gonna add parking, we're gonna add sidewalks, but we're gonna spend that money and put it in the infrastructure. It doesn't do any good in the bank. You know, it's gotta be residents first. And money in the bank is residents first. It just makes Rodrigo happy at City Hall, but they ain't doing anything for anyone out here. So those funds go into infrastructure. Laguna Boulevard, you know, we're gonna put shovels in the ground here before the end of the year. This is a great project. I want to hats off to Alex Sanchez. We engineered that project in-house. We saved hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars by having our public works director engineer that project. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. When change orders come up, because they're going to, because we're going to start going there, you're going to find pipes all over the place and different things. We're not going to pay for a change order because Alex Sanchez is going to redesign it. So we have to keep pumping in the infrastructure. We're gonna get Laguna done. We put in some beautiful sidewalks up by the shores. The winding trails are awesome. It's gonna connect the whole island to the Quiet Water Sports Park. We're looking at, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago. We were talking about, you know, one of the other venue tax projects was a parking garage. And where to go? Convention center here and there. No, we were looking over by, there's a spot by the birding center by sea turtles. You know, they always have traffic congestion over there. What a great place for a parking garage, and the hotels, and if there's concerts down the street, they could use that too, to get the cars off the side streets. Let's put them in a garage. So infrastructure, we just gotta keep rolling. We just gotta keep rolling and going forward. And Alex is doing a great job for us, and we should all be proud of the work he's doing. And John
Thank
Wilson,
you.
and John Wilson.
Eva Jean?
We had an open house, another open house last night at City Hall on the Laguna Boulevard project with the final plans, and there was not very many people that came, but that would have answered a lot of your questions. You could see exactly how it's gonna develop and the things that are gonna happen, and I do say the same thing, that we're lucky that we have Alex that works for the city, because he did save us a lot of money by being able to draw the plans, and that's a great asset for us. And again, the internet, I think that's a huge problem, and I've already begun trying to work on that, and I will continue to work on it. I know I got an email, was a couple of days ago, because I'm sure most of you have been experiencing it for almost 2 weeks, like several times a day, internet going in and off, in and off, in and off, in and off. And so, Spectrum sent an email saying that they were doing something from midnight to 6 a.m. Since that happened, the last 2 days, I haven't had any problems, and I haven't heard of anybody having, so it did go out this afternoon. Okay, so I will continue to work on that, because internet affects tourism, it affects all of our businesses. So I think that's a huge infrastructure thing that we need to get straight.
All right, thank you, Rod.
Question?
Yes. Can you provide your perspective on the infrastructure of the island and how you feel the city council should be focusing resources for improvement?
Well, I mean, we've answered that infrastructure question several times. Nothing's really changed there. The electric grid, the internet, drainage, a few things that some citizens or residents have brought to me in my meet and greets, or we haven't talked about, streetlights. We've had a rash of car burglaries and burglaries and thefts from vehicles. And if you drive up and down this island, and especially the side streets at night, there are many, many streets that don't have a street light and very, very dark, and that just lends to the thieves easier prey, you know. I think we need a project to go through and make sure there's plenty of street lights and plenty of, not for security, but for safety. Another thing that we didn't really talk about was we continue to lose police officers and firefighters. It's near and dear to my heart because we can't pay them enough. We have all this extra money to do studies and research and this and that. Meanwhile, we take a new police officer in, we pay to train that police officer. That police officer's here for a year, maybe less, and he gets that experience that he needs to go on and get a better job at a different city at much higher pay. I know a couple that came from Galveston. They were recruited by the fire chief to come to Galveston and be a paramedic. He was an awesome couple, great paramedic. He wasn't here a year, and now he's gone to Fort Lauderdale to almost triple his pay. There's 2 job openings for the city right now. One's for a dispatcher, one's for a driver. The driver starts at $13 and change, and the 911 dispatcher starts at $10. That needs to change. We just can't keep good personnel in the city right now.
All right, thank you all. And we will now move on to closing statements. Again, you've drawn the order, just so the public knows, you've drawn the order in advance. And you again will each have 2 minutes. And 2. 2 minutes. Oh.
I don't need 3. It does say 3.
Well, if you want 3 minutes, take 3 minutes.
We got the time.
You guys got the 3 minutes? You good with that? Excellent.
Start it.
All right, we can hold our attention span for 3 minutes a person. So, Rod, you'll be first. Eva Jean, you'll be next, and Joe, you'll be last. All right, Rod, you can begin.
Closing statements. Well, I have the utmost respect for both of these people and for the other people that are on the council now. I think they're really doing a good job. We've got a lot of projects that have been started or have been researched and planned that we all have been looking for. Hospitals, causeways, everything. I still believe that I can help. I still believe that I can bring a new perspective or maybe a new eye to things, maybe some new ideas or modifications to existing ideas. I just think that I'm in a position, I've been here for a long time, I love the city, and I've had the leadership experience to help with a lot of new projects and existing projects.
All right, thank you. Eva Jean?
Well, again, I'm honored to serve a second term. It's been a great experience for me, and it's been great meeting more people on the island. I knew a lot of people, but I've gotten to know a lot of people better. And I'm very honored and proud to be representing this great community. Lydia Cavietta, that also serves on council with us, I was in a meeting with her the other day, and she made a comment that I thought about very often, is that as we live on the island, you know, everybody can be at odds and have different opinions, and there might be fighting going on and ugly things said sometimes, but you know, in a time of need, I see the island come together. Somebody needs a ride because they're having cancer treatments. Everybody volunteers. The community does come together. When the poles went down, when the freeze happened, water shortage, all kinds of things. I've seen this community come together and put all of those differences aside. And I hope that everybody continues to do that, because that's what makes the island unique and special. And it's a great place, and I think we all need to keep giving the message out, putting the message out to people that this is a great place to live and play. And I think we need to stay inclusive on city council, that we all need to communicate well together. We need to listen to the public. We need to compromise and have common sense and just work together as best as we can and stay positive.
Thank you. Joe?
We're gonna come back to that in a minute. Ron, I don't want you to worry about the firemen or the police. We finished, Councilwoman Dalton and myself, we sat on a compensation committee. It's had multiple meetings. We've been meeting for, I don't know, 15 months. The study's done. That's gonna be coming to the council here very soon. I got your back. I got your back. So we're gonna be talking about that at the council meeting real soon. I told you how I got down here. I didn't tell you the rest of my story. I came down spring break '94, and there was a place I wanted to work at, and I couldn't get hired there. I got hired at a different place, and I was not enjoying that experience, and so I went back to the first place. I went back 10 days in a row. I kept turning in a resume, then an application, and then on the 10th day, I got the owner's timing down. I figured out when he went to lunch, so I could get in front of him, because he was always hiding. He had the secretary kind of shunning me off. So he took me to lunch that day at the Sunset Grill. We had a great conversation. I thought I was in, it was done, and we got back to the building, and he just said, good luck. True story. Anyways, later I went back home, and I wanted the second shot of it, and this is what I had on my shelf. I had tomato soup. So I went back to see him, and I said, hey, I put that down on his desk. And he's like, what's that? I said, that's what I've been eating for the last 10 days. And I said, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the most experienced, but there's nobody on your staff who's gonna outwork me. No one. Anyways, that gentleman hired me, and I had the privilege of working with him for 28 years. And he retired. I'm happy for him, but he's one of the hardest working men I've ever met in my life. Y'all gave me a chance 3 years ago. I brought 4 dozen plus resolutions to the council. Every one of them have passed. I'm moving the venue tax projects forward with my help and the other council people. We got Lydia on now too. I'm really excited about that. When you vote for me in 30 days and you give me another 3 years, we're gonna get this done. And I promise you, there is no one who will work harder than I for you, and I appreciate your vote and your support. Thanks for coming tonight. That's it.
All right. Thank each of you all for your work and your contribution.
Are you going to open up the can of soup now?